Hello Glee, I'm Jacob Straubhaar, your great-grandfather. This is what I would like you to remember about our family. My parents are Johanna Eggen and Peter Straubhaar II. They married in Niederstocken, Switzerland on August 22, 1829. They had 5 daughters and 4 sons. I'd like to tell you about my parents' family. My oldest sister Maria was born on October 13, 1830. She married Samuel Bruni. There were 9 children born to them. They lived out their lives in Bern, Switzerland. She died in 1892 at the age of 61. My oldest brother Johannes was born January 5 in 1833. He married Rosina Schwendemann. They had 2 children. Johannes died in 1869 at the age of 36 in Boltingen, Switzerland. My brother Jacob, my namesake, was born August 19, 1835 in Niederstocken. Jacob died the next year on May 1836. My sister Magdalena was born March 20, 1837 in Niederstocken. She married John Koons in Diemtigen, Switzerland. They had 5 children born in Switzerland. The LDS missionaries converted them to Mormonism and they were baptized November 14, 1868. The family immigrated to Ovid, Idaho in 1873. That was the last time I'd see Maggie. Maggie suffered from illness throughout her life. She died of dropsy in Ovid, Idaho, May 22 in 1874 at the age of 37, 1 year after their emigration. My younger brother Peter was named after my father. He was born March 13 in 1840 in Niederstocken. He married Carolina Berger. They had 7 children born to them, all in Niederstocken. 4 of his children and his wife Carolina died during his lifetime. He lived his life in Switzerland, dying in Bern in 1916 at the age of 76. My sister Johanna was born April 12 in Niederstocken in 1842. She was named after my mother. She immigrated to Idaho with our mother and Sophie in 1874 when she was 32 years old. She married Isaac Tunks in Salt Lake City in that same year. She died in 1875 at the age of 35. My sister Sophie was born May 24, 1846 in Niederstocken. She was baptized a Mormon on June 30 in 1873. She was 27 at the time. She emigrated to Ovid, Idaho with my mother the next year in 1874. Our sister Magdalena had died the previous May 22. That October 26 Sophie married John Koons and took her sister Magdalena's place as his wife and mother of Maggie's children. John Koons would marry 4 additional polygamous wives. Sophie died in 1893 of appendicitis at the age of 47. She was married to John Koons for 19 years. She would have no children by John Koons, but would adopt 1 Swiss boy, Ernest Jonley. My father was born August 12, 1804 in Niederstocken, Switzerland. He died in Niederstocken September 29, 1868 at the age of 64. My mother was born February 22, 1809 in Niederstocken, Switzerland. She joined the Mormon Church July 15 in 1873, 5 years after my father's death. She emigrated to Ovid, Idaho in 1874 with my 2 sisters, Sophie and Johanna. This was the last time I saw my mother. She died on November 25, 1875. She is buried in Ovid, Idaho. This was 8 years before I immigrated to America, with my family. I was the 5th child born. I was born in Niederstocken, Switzerland, June 9 in 1838. I was 9 years old. In 1847, I had to leave home to work to help my father support our family. Switzerland and much of Europe was experiencing a major famine crisis that had lasted for years. I sent my Swiss franc earnings home to my father. After the famine eased, I returned home a young man. In 1863 I fell in love with Anna Elisabeth Strahm and we began our life together. A son, Gottfried Strahm, was born on March 10 in 1864. He died 1 year later on March 6. Elizabeth and I were married in Rieutiggen, Switzerland on November 22, 1867. My father died the next year on September 29, 1868, at the age of 64. My sisters Magdalena and Sophia and my mother had been baptized members of the LDS Church and immigrated to Idaho. The missionaries brought the gospel message to our family and we became converted. On February 19, 1883 we were baptized. My sister Sophia was married to John Coons and living in Ovid, Idaho at the time. Mother and Magdalena had died in Idaho. Sophia arranged with John Coons for a $250 loan for our immigration. We organized our journey to Zion in America. I sold the house to my younger brother Peter. The family left Switzerland, May 10, 1883. There were 9 children, Anna Elizabeth and I. The oldest child Magdalena was 14, Anna Elizabeth was 12, Rosina was 11, Mary, your grandmother, was 8, John Jacob was 6, Louise was 2, and Carolina was 1. I was 45 years old at the time and was 43. We traveled to New York, 3rd class, on the steamer Nevada, for 21 days. We came by train to Wyoming and then by wagon to Montpelier, Idaho. This was a great hardship for us. This was a test of faith and endurance, especially for Anna, as she had left all her relatives and friends in Switzerland, also her home and furniture. She came to Zion with her large family to face a life of hardship, for the sake of her belief in the gospel. We moved about from place to place and gathered a few possessions, until I was able to build a little home in Geneva, Idaho. A year after we moved to Geneva, in October of 1889, we took our family to the temple in Logan, Utah, in a large lumber wagon. We went through the temple to take out our endowments and be sealed to each other. It took us 2 days to reach Logan, a full week round trip. We all enjoyed the experience. Maggie had married Albert Herman in 1888. She contracted typhoid fever in the fall of 1889. We sent Mary and Rosina to take care of her, but she could not be restored to health. She died February 4, 1890. Maggie was 22 years old. Rosina also contracted the disease and was brought home. It was 2 months before she recovered. Louise, age 10, and Carolina, age 9, were also stricken with typhoid fever. Louise died April 3. Carolina died June 15. Anna and I lost 3 beautiful daughters in 1890. Our daughter Anna Elizabeth would marry Joseph Polson also in 1891. They would have 9 children born to them. Anna would die in Raymond, Idaho on October 8, 1916 at the age of 46. Our daughter Rosina would marry John Teuscher in 1891. They would have 8 children born to them. Rosina would die in Montpelier, Idaho on November 19, 1956 at the age of 85. Our daughter Mary, your grandmother, would marry John Zumbrunnen in 1896. They would have 13 children born to them. Mary would die in Cokeville, Wyoming on April 4, 1959 at the age of 84. Our son John Jacob would become a doctor and then marry Len Blaser in 1899. They would have 5 children. John would die, of a heart attack, on February 20, 1945 in Rupert, Idaho at the age of 69. My wife Anna Elizabeth was always cheerful. She was a good mother, always gentle and kind. She was sociable, friendly, and always enjoyed visiting with friends and neighbors. She died in Montpelier, Idaho on May 10, 1913 at the age of 73. I was a carpenter by trade. I worked hard to support my family. I tried to be faithful to the commandments of God and love my fellow man. I was ordained a high priest. In the blessing, I was promised I would sit with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. I died of stomach cancer on April 15, 1907 in Montpelier, Idaho at the age of 68. Thank you, Glee. Auf Wiedersehen.